The Unusual Abduction of Avery, Conifer, which was released on the 1st of this month by Harlequin. Yet another lockdown launch, but it is what it is. I think I've been using that phrase an awful lot this year, as have most of us. So firstly, thank you so much for joining me here this evening, and thank you also to Better Reading for inviting me to come along and talk about the book. I can see a few people starting to join in now, so I'll just ramble for a few minutes while everybody settles. Look, I'm rapidly growing to love these online events. The last time I launched a book, everything was in person. It was fun, but a little exhausting. And plus, of course, pants were mandatory. Also, with online events, I can have Post-it notes stuck up around everywhere with reminders. Like I've got one there that says, don't swear. Another one that reminds me to hold up the book every few minutes because it's something I forget to do an awful lot. And another one that reminds me to look straight if possible. And that's because I gave myself a lockdown haircut last week and I now have several semi-bald spots around the back. But I also particularly like these live stream events because of the connectivity they offer. And in lockdown, I think that's even more precious. Otherwise, it's just me trying to hold a conversation with my dog, and that's a little one-sided. The downside, of course, of launching into lockdown is that I now have 2,200 bookmarks, a big box full apart from these ones, courtesy of a mistake by my publisher's printers. Apparently, I was only supposed to be given 100, and I've only been able to give away 5, and one of those was to the dog who ate it. I was trying to do a photo shoot, and it didn't work very well. But enough about my dog or my hair or my potty mouth. I can see that quite a few people have started to join now, so I'll start talking about the book, which, remind myself, hold it up again. So hello everybody, lovely to see you all joining in. I can see there's Nola and Tara. I feel like that play school with I'm dating myself here, but that with the mirror where they always called out the names, and I was always traumatized because they never called out my name. Look, I'm really proud of this book. It was good fun to write, and the feedback thus far has been that it's fun to read as well, even with a few of the darker themes that are in there. As I said, it's called The Unusual Abduction of Avery, Conifer, and it's not, as one of my friends thought, about a shrub. In this regard, Conifer is a surname. It tells the story of 2 very different grandmothers who aren't very fond of each other, but who come together to protect their mutual granddaughter, 4-year-old Avery, who they suspect is being neglected, if not abused, by her father. They end up going on the run across country Victoria, along with Avery and her 89-year-old great-grandmother, who was one of my favourite characters to write, and a miniature schnauzer named Hartha Canut. You have to be really careful how you pronounce that name. So the book had its impetus probably about 10 years ago when I was putting together a non-fiction book called The Invisible Woman and Other Remarkable Phenomena of Middle Age. And as sometimes happens in this industry, it ended up not going anywhere, but the research stuck with me. Like one of the things I think that really stuck with me, did you know older women make up 1% of depictions across media? That's commercials, print, television, everything. While in reality, they're 5 times that amount of the population. And I think that's one of the reasons, I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's probably one of the reasons that many people, women in particular, have a fear of aging, because we don't often get a template of what to expect. And when we do, older women are often, really quite one-dimensional bit players, cookie baking grandmothers or somebody's nosy neighbour or selling funeral insurance or whatever. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, I read a book about an older man who went on the run with a young traumatised teen to keep him safe from a crime gang. It wasn't a humorous one. And I started thinking how different it would have been if the protagonist had been a woman. And so that, plus the earlier research that stayed with me, came together and it percolated over time into a plot. So what I might do now is go to a few questions before I go off on a tangent again, which I am prone to do, anybody who knows me. So I'll just have a look. Jay Bell's just saying, looking forward to this book. Gosh, I have a big to read pile thanks to Better Reading. And can I just say, so do I. Because I've been I'm not terribly great on social media, but I've been trying to be a lot better. And so I'm getting lots of recommendations as well. So my to-read book list and my orders from online bookshops have really, really increased. I'm an avid reader. And Anne Lee asks, was it fun writing about older women? It was. It was so much fun. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before, that older women are often so one-dimensional. They're like their peripheral characters, and to put them in the centre of their own story and make them heroes of their own story was just tremendous fun. And to give them, I suppose, flaws as well, because, you know, we often don't see the multi-dimensions of older women. So these are flawed characters. They're not perfect characters at all. They can be annoying at times, but tremendous fun to write. So, yeah, very much so. Caitlin's just asking, was there any character hard to write? Probably the main male character, because he wasn't particularly likable, but it is predominantly a book about women. So and he had to be written the way he was to cause what happened. But he was probably the most difficult to write, and the one that I didn't enjoy writing as much, because he was quite a toxic character, to be honest. And Sandra's just asking, what's my process to write a book? Very haphazard. I know I've read some authors who have this really regimented style, and I envy them. I really do. I have no style whatsoever. So when I'm the first 20,000 words or so, I find incredibly difficult, and my house is never so clean, because I'll make any excuse under the world not to write. And then I get to a point in the book where I can't do anything but I love it. So, I'll go sort of flat out then for a couple of months, and then when it's finished, I'll take a few months off. So mine's so all over the place. I don't know any, writers out there or aspiring writers. Please don't model yourself on my methodology, because I don't think it's all that inspiring, to be honest. Brooke was asking, was Winsome my favourite character? Was she inspired by anyone in particular? No, an amalgamation, I think, of older women. She was so much fun to write. And I think also because I've seen so many things where, and my offspring can do it a little bit to me too, when I can be a bit slow with social media or with media at all, and you sort of get that slightly condescending look that when they're showing you how to do it. So I wanted to make her really tech savvy. Even she's 89 years old, and my mother was very tech savvy. So I think in some ways I've modelled her on her, because she was probably more tech savvy than I am, embraced everything that came out. So, yeah, I hadn't really put that together until then, so thanks for that question. Carla was saying, I'm so glad there's more books coming out about older women. Thanks. Oh, me too. I think, do you know that one with Judi Dench, the English movie that was based in India, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I think that sort of spurred a real move in fiction and in TV to embrace more stories, because it was so popular, about older women. And I think that's been we're a huge population in terms of viewers and readers, and we've been underestimated for a long period of time. So I'm really glad that, we're sort of hitting our strides now. Jamie was just asking, did anyone inspire you with the main characters? I get very Jane Fonda vibes. Oh, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I think probably, if anyone, people more like Judi Dench, and I'm trying to think of that Australian actress at the moment who's I can picture her in this if there was wouldn't it be lovely if there was a movie, and Susie actually asked a question that goes on from that. Who do you want playing the characters when it goes to Hollywood? Thank you. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? And I'm trying to think of that Australian actress. Magda Szubanski would be marvellous in one of the roles, because she's got that sort of humour. But also we have Noni Hazelhurst. We've got some fantastic Australian actresses of that age group who also have been getting some good roles. Marigold Hotel. Thank you, Nola. You're right. The Marigold Hotel, the best. And Jenny has said that as well. That's exactly right. Brilliant movie. And I think that was sort of a bit of a turning point. You'd think the turning point would have been the Golden Girls, wouldn't you? Because that was incredibly popular. But then we had sort of a bit of a blank spot for a number of years where they didn't pick up on its popularity. Joy Bell just asks, do you get the same kickback from a library to a bookshop? Do you mean in terms of payment as an author, Joy Bell? Is that what you mean? Because I can certainly talk to that if you like. So yeah, just follow that up if that's what you mean, and I can talk about that. And Anne Lee says the iconic Hazelhurst, and Sandra's Jackie Weaver. That's the other one I was trying to think of, Jackie Weaver. Yes, and those two, how good would that be? I can't think who I would get to play Winnie though. So Judy Davis, yes. Julie's just saying that. That would be brilliant. I can imagine her there. Noni Hazelhurst, has she read it yet? I know that my agent did pitch it to a few producers because, I mean, this is I've written a number of books, but I think this is the first one that's lent itself really well to screen. The rest of mine are a bit, probably a bit more introspective, so they probably wouldn't translate as well. So, yeah, I think this one, oh, look, I would love it. And Joy Bell, yes, you meant for money. Yeah, okay, I can talk to that, absolutely. We have a wonderful scheme in Australia called the PLR, which is the Public Lending Rights, and that was brought in, I think it might have been during the Whitlam era. It certainly sounds like something that Gough would have brought in. Look at me, I sound like I'm on first name basis with him. I'm not. I wish I had have been, but the PLR and ELR are a scheme where if a certain amount of your books are kept in a library and taken out per year, you get a certain percentage. And it can be quite a nice little earner, to be honest, because as you probably know, Australian authors aren't it's not the most lucrative career. I mean, like most, I have another job that sort of pays the bills. But the PLR, which is the public lending rights, and the ELR, which is education. So if you write, that's more in an education sphere. Once a year in May to June, you get a payout if your books have been borrowed enough times during the year. So yes, terrific scheme. It's a wonderful thing, and I think many authors really are very, very grateful for PLR and ELR. Caitlin asks, more importantly, who would play Harthen Knut? I've got to say that name really slowly when pronounced. I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be my Mini Schnauzer because she is not as well behaved. In fact, my Mini Schnauzer is an interesting dog, can we just say. She's quite high maintenance. And Kerry, thank you, Kerry, Shirley Grady. Kerry's been promising to come and train Grady for the last year. Yeah. And Kieran Jones. I'm wondering if that's the Kieran Jones I used to know quite a few years ago. I'm not sure. I did some teaching rounds with somebody called Kieran Jones. Please tell me if it's you. I'd love to catch up. And Joy Bell is just asking also the Calendar Girls. Yes, that was wonderful, wasn't it? I watched that. That was terrific. And Jamie, was it hard to write between women roughly the same age? Do you feel pressured to use the usual tropes of older women? Look, that's a great question, Jamie, because to some degree I did have to be wary of that, of not falling into a little bit of almost at times slapstick. And I had to be very careful not to go down that pathway. But I think because I, from word go, wanted to write these multi-dimensional characters, I think the usual tropes are those really, sort of singular ones, I was able to avoid it. And Kieran, yes, it is. Oh, my God, Kieran, please reach out. I would love to have a glass of wine with you. I've got one here, but that doesn't quite count. I would love to have a glass of wine with you or something at some stage. It's been years. Kieran, can I just mention, taught my son many, many years ago. And Caitlin's just said, Grady is already the name of another of her protagonist. Yes, in my yacht YA. So that's where my dog is called Grady, I should explain, got her name from. And Kirsten, hello, how are you? I might ask this again. Were you ever tempted to add in COVID to set the book in the here or now? Or was it better to leave the time frame? the book I'm doing at the moment is in the COVID timeframe, but because this one I'd actually written it prior, so I was writing this book in 2019 and the beginning of 2020. By the time I was editing it, certainly we were in the middle of 2020 and things had changed. But no, it would have been really difficult to write this one and move it into the COVID era, because on the run with COVID, though the masks might have helped. So great question. And I'm seeing quite a few people that I know here. Barbara I saw before, who is an old school friend of mine as well. So it's so wonderful to see so many names and new names, and Helen and Julie from Ferntree Gully Library, of course. And I think many years ago I did a launch there and Julie was part of that. So thank you. I thanked you at the time as well. I'm just scrolling back up because I know that I missed, and I can see Sandra there, who's a very favourite friend of mine from teaching. Robin is asking, I love this book. Was there any variations on how the ending was going to play out? Oh, great question. Usually I would say with most of my books, yes. I don't actually know how they're going to end. And with this one, I wasn't quite sure how they were going to be captured, like that part of it, but I did always know that I wanted to end it with that last chapter. Interestingly, when I wrote it, it had a different name altogether. It was named Peculiar Features, which was taken from a medical journal that some numbnut, or am I allowed to say that? Some misogynist male wrote in the 19th century, and he said that older women had peculiar features. But the publishers thought it was a bit obscure, and they were probably right. So I love the title, though. I mean, I often get asked, actually, why is it an unusual abduction? And it's like, I don't think there's actually a benchmark for abductions. I don't think there's a usual abduction at all. But I suppose the unusual bit comes in because the protagonists being 3 older women. I think that's probably a little bit unique in the annals of crime. I don't think there's many trios of older women who abduct. So that's where the unusual bit came in. I'm just scrolling up. Oh, hello, Carla. Yep. I think I've got all the ones up there now. Beck saying, I no longer have a to-be-read pile. It's more like bookshelves. Yes. Can I just say this bookshelf behind me is only one of many. So, yes, I'm in the same boat, but I love it. I love reading. And I can see Susie Wilde, one of my favourite ex-students. And Jez, hello. I better stop scrolling up and go back down to the bottom, I think, so that I don't. Apologies if I've missed anyone's question. Melissa, thank you. I love the Nefarious books. Must read this new one. Yes, the Nefarious ones are the Nell Forrest Murder Mystery series. And I'm hoping that series finds a new home soon, because the publishers got subsumed by a larger publishing company. So I'm really hoping, because I'd love to write another one. I've sort of got it in my head for where Nell Forrest will go next. And Joy Bell is just asking, where do you live? In the Dandenong Ranges. Really lucky, on the edge of the national park there. So even in COVID lockdown, the walks are still wonderful. So really nice part of Victoria over here. Grad certs are in the house, Susie. I should explain, I coordinate a couple of postgraduate degrees at Chisholm in Melbourne Southeast, and my favourite one, my baby, if you like, is the Graduate Certificate in Family Violence. And I recognise quite a few, Susie and Geraldine, my ex-students who all graduated earlier this year and are doing amazing things in the sector. I see them there, so lovely to see them. We were never able to actually have an official, sort of party because of COVID. Oh, and Karen said, I really enjoyed Odd Socks. I could relate to it. Do you know what? I tried to pick up those earlier ones last year and reread them, and I read the murder mysteries again and loved them, but I couldn't read the earlier ones. I don't know why. I think I'd write them very differently now. Jode's just saying, don't say the ending. No, I won't say the ending. Loved your book, Kirsten, says Veronica. Oh, wonderful. And Jack's just saying, love this book. I've heard it's been getting a lot of attention. Any chance for a film or series? Oh, I wish. As I said, I think this one out of all of mine probably lends itself. Oh, I've got my note. Hold up the book. This one probably lends itself most to a show, or TV show, or what have you, or Netflix. Wouldn't that be great? So I've got my fingers crossed. I'd be so excited. I think I'd be beside myself. The next book, asks Kirsten, can you tell? Okay, so the next one is it's set in the week after a group of siblings lose their mother. And so they're having to unpack her life, basically. And they find a diary which shows them a very different person from who they thought she was. Because, of course, they've basically been seeing her as their mother or grandmother in the case of the children. So it's really about the grief, but at the same token, discovering this woman that they didn't know. It's still very much like The Unusual Abduction of Avery Conifer. It's got some serious themes, but that humour is there as well, which is my favourite way of writing. Caitlin's just saying, I love the stratification. Yes, and there's a sequel for that one. And that one also is, I'm looking for a home for that one as soon as I pull my finger out and do something about it. And there's my dog. So I mentioned the badly trained dog. Because that publisher, I seem to have a bit of bad luck, but HarperCollins, Harlequin are big enough that they won't be subsumed by somebody else. But yeah, that's happened to me twice now. Carla's just asking, I can't wait to read this now. Can I ask where it's set? Victoria, and that's mainly because I'm such a lazy researcher. If I set books in Victoria, I don't have to do research. Though I did set a book once on a cruise ship, which was a tremendous fun, but that was after I'd been on a cruise, so I was able to use my own knowledge. So it's basically starts off around the Dandenong Ranges, and then, of course, they excuse my dog. They scoot through to Healesville and then go up towards Bendigo Ballarat area. So it's sort of across Victoria. And Jez is just saying, sorry, it's not that lucrative to be an author, but don't give up your day job. We love your teaching and your writing. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And Kerry, another one of my favourite ex-students, how did the stories come to you? I think, like with this one, they percolate. So something will pop into my head, which I've already sort of got the idea for the one after the one I'm doing. And I'll just jot it down. And so I've got it like a box over there with ideas in it. And they're not usually when I go to bed, and that's how I go to sleep, is I'll just sort of play it through and start, padding out characters and what have you. And by the time I'm ready to write it, I've sort of got them already there. Helen's just asking, a colleague of mine needed a book to read as she had to accompany her son to hospital, and I gave her odd socks. You've got another fan now. Thank you so much. It's lovely to, as a reader, I know that too. It's absolutely lovely to share books with friends and then they actually like your recommendations. It's always a bit awkward if you go, oh, my God, I love this one, and then they don't. Cass, hello, and I love your books and looking forward to reading this new book when I can get it. I am so pleased. Thank you. Joy Bell, I was just asking, I hope you didn't get caught in the recent storms. I did a little bit. I had this massive antenna on top of the house. Nobody ever used it. It's been there since I've been here for 20 years, and it wrapped itself around the house. So that was about 2 o'clock in the morning, which was horrendous noise. Which by the way, the useless dog, who's not even good as a guard dog, slept right through it. Carla's just saying it's nice and fat. It is a biggish book, isn't it? The murder mysteries are probably about half the size because they're, it's not, this one's got a little bit more, I suppose, because they're a series. you're not delving into the characters as much. Helen's just saying, keeping my fingers crossed for Netflix too. Oh, me too. Oh, my gosh. Julie, yes, Broken. So different from my earlier books. Yes, and Sticks and Stones. So those ones have got no humour. If anybody picks up Broken or Sticks and Stones, there's I think I wrote those ones after I finished PhD on domestic violence, and I had all these stories from women that they'd told me, and I almost felt like I'd been given something precious, and what was I going to do with it now? And, you know, a PhD just sits on some library dusty shelf. And so I almost felt like that was it was incumbent upon me to do something with them. And so I wrote the fiction, sort of, you know, amalgamated the stories and wrote Broken. And, you know, in the usual sense, I mean, I don't think I've ever got any feedback from my PhD, but for Broken, I've got masses of people who were saying, you know, that resonated. It was my story, or people who said, now I understand why women don't leave. So, you know, it was a real one that's very, very special to me, and Sticks and Stones was the sequel. Jamie's just saying, so interesting. Last question. Would you rather a series or a movie? Oh, which one pays me more? I don't know. I don't know. I think it lends itself to a movie more, I think. Kerry's just saying every time Grady, my dog, barks, her dog's going off as well. I don't know what she was barking at. It was probably like a butterfly that flew past or something. Yes, Kirsten, I'm so glad you recognise that. I do that with a lot of my books. I bring in characters from other books just as background characters, and I always wait to see if somebody recognises the fact that they've come from another book and they've just popped in. Barbara, hello, Barbara, is just saying, hello, Grady. We must catch up for a glass of wine as well, Barbara. Living in the Dandenong Ranges as well, Helen, makes reading. I thought I saw you in Emerald when I saw you on Facebook the other day with your dog, but I think it was a different dog. Yes, I think you live up near my daughter. And Beck's just saying, I love when you read a book and you know, oh, me too, and you know the area. It's very inspirational, Nola. You're absolutely right. It's a beautiful part of the world. How long ago was your launch in Emerald? My friend and I were trying to work at that. The launch that I did with Julie was actually in Ferntree Gully Library. I did do an event in Emerald, and I can't remember how long ago it was. 5 years. It's a while ago now. Kirsten, thank you. She posted her review today. I must admit, I've been checking the reviews every couple of days and, getting a bit of a buzz about, you know, they're overwhelmingly positive, which is just so lovely. And Ivanka, thank you. Thank you. Mike was just asking, did you have a scene that you found hard to write? Probably the first chapter, because it wasn't there to start off with, and the publishers came back, and the second chapter, which originally started the book, they felt that it needed something else. So I had to sort of backtrack, and I had to read the book to go back to write that one. So that one was probably the hardest to write, but I'm really glad. I think they were absolutely right. Oh, Sarah, hello. Agree, thoroughly enjoyed this and Sticks and Stones. And just saying, enjoying the interview. This book sounds really interesting. And I'm just looking at the time and going, my God, where's the time gone? I've got about a minute to go. So I'll just quickly scroll through the rest. I hope I get all I think I've got them all. Ilsa on social media. Oh, that was one of my Post-it notes. I was supposed to mention that. Thank you, Carla. Yes, I'm on Instagram as of 5 days ago. So it's still a learning curve. Facebook I've been on for ages, so I've got an author page on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I don't do a lot there. But Facebook is my main, and I'm trying to get myself accustomed to Instagram. I am going to update my website this weekend with all the social media links. That shows how useless I am. I haven't done that yet. So I will be doing that. But please, if you just look up Ilsa Evans on Facebook, you should get the author page anyway. Which, I'd love to see you there. Meredith, I've read all your books. I'm looking forward to this one as well. Look, and I'm going to have to leave it there. Otherwise, I'm going to be cut off in the midst of everything. Thank you, everybody, so much. Look, thank you for your engagement with reading, the reviews, the feedback you offer, and being part of this whole community. So important at the best of times, and even more important at the moment. I think it's something really precious. If you'd like to purchase the book, obviously it's available at all good bookstores. And please do get in touch with me on social media. I really do. I genuinely mean that I love responding to people and having chats, and that especially at the moment, I can only talk to the dog. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much.